Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of Geek-Span. I'm your host, Wes, from Thinking Critical, as always. And with me, we've got the comic whiz and the man himself, Skip. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, man, my Kings are 0-5 right now, Wes, and you have predicted a win. And I trusted you, Wes. I really trusted you. I thought you were thinking critical. What happened?
That'll teach you to listen to me on basketball news. Was it the Sacramento Kings comic book I was talking about?
Yeah, it was, because this is a Geek-Span where we talk about Sacramento Kings comic books.
But, well, thank you all for joining us today. We're going to give you your Geek Culture 411. We got some movie news. We got some Star Wars stuff. We got comic books. We got streaming services. All right, I think it's time to kick it off. Comic Whiz, what's the first question?
Well, the first question is related to Game of Thrones creators, showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, the creative duo behind Game of Thrones, were expected to start the next Star Wars movie trilogy. But the duo recently announced there are only so many hours in the day, and we felt we could not do justice to both Star Wars and our Netflix projects, so we are regretfully stepping away. Wes, are you surprised yet another creative powerhouse are exiting Star Wars under LucasFilm President Kathleen Kennedy?
Absolutely not. This is par for the course at this point. Kathleen Kennedy being in charge of Lucasfilm, you bring in the best and the brightest creators. They stick around for 3 or 4 months. They learn the creative process, and then they leave. The only one that sticks around is Rian Johnson, and apparently J.J. Abrams if you give him enough money. So I'm not surprised by this at all. This is a terrible news for Star Wars fans, though. You know, Benioff and Weiss are about as hot as you can get in Hollywood. You know, Game of Thrones was a cultural phenomenon. You know, I believe that's still the most pirated TV show in the history of entertainment. So, you know, people were frothing at the mouth to get a hold of those books. I think they would have been perfect for some earlier Star Wars stories. Maybe like they were talking about the origins of the Jedi, things like that. You know, maybe, you know, throw some of those fantasy elements, you know, kind of things in there. And I think it would have been perfect, but another one bites the dust. Another creative powerhouse leaves Lucasfilm, and Kathleen Kennedy's left holding nothing in her hand. She's going to be having to, I guess, rely on Kevin Feige and Rian Johnson now. Skip, what do you think about this?
Where's Freddie Mercury when you need him? Another one bites the dust. Man. Yeah, par for the course. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, between everything from, you know, what happened with Rogue One, bringing in Gareth Edwards, having him shoot the movie, and then bringing in, what's his name, Tony Gilroy, to have to reshoot it, and Gareth Edwards has to stand next to him and watch him redo his whole movie, and they both edit it together. Like, that's so uncommon and unorthodox. That's weird. The whole thing with Solo, how they let the dudes from the Lego movie, I forget their name, Lord and Miller, let them shoot 75% of the movie, and then pull up and be like, oh, I don't like this. And they're like, well, you told us to do what we want to do, creative freedom, right? She's like, yeah, you're fired. And then you got to bring in who I love, Ron Howard. Ron Howard is one of the most underrated directors of our generation, I personally believe. But you got him to clean up the mess. And what was your deal with him? Yeah, I'll do this for you if you let me do one of my own Star Wars movies. I know that was the deal. Let's see if that ever happens. And then, yeah, letting Rian Johnson have his way, and then he obliterates and destroys one of the biggest symbols of hope we ever had in Luke Skywalker. And then you got my dude from Oakland. How am I forgetting this? Yeah, Colin Trevorrow being like, Kathy, you wanted me to do the third one. I literally was having private meetings with Mark Hamill, and he was Joker laughing for me. We were getting really close. What the hell is going on? Like, this is just par for the course for her. Benioff and Weiss leaving doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, and then take into consideration the fact that Netflix had offered them, you know, their own deal, which was a longer deal, gave them more time, probably gave them more money. And
9 figures.
Nine figures, bro. 9 figures. Can I get 3 figures?
Deal with Netflix.
I'll take 10 figures. I mean, 9 figures.
A lot of zeros.
That's a lot of zeros. They got more zeros than I got, and I got zeros. So yeah, man. I mean, it's par for the course. And then take this into account as well. Disney doing Disney Plus. and then they're literally direct competition for Netflix. So that alone, as much as Kathy was probably like, you could still do it and it would be a conflict of interest, that was probably on Netflix's side. They're like, look, we want to do this with you and we'll give you this, but you gotta kill the Disney thing. So for me, it just kind of all makes sense. Now, one thing I do want to point out is if you look at the statements that they both put out, it really does genuinely seem like Kathy did really, really want them there. It wasn't kind of harsh and sharp statements that they made on both sides. It was like, hey, they left the door open to work again together later. But I agree, Wes, something like Knights of the Old Republic, where we get hella Jedi, and a whole bunch of Sith, and just have them war it out. We get all the lightsaber fights and all the, and then Darth Bane, and even us see like the Sith get reduced to 2 and the rule of 2 start. Would have been awesome, and Benioff and Weiss would have been perfect for something like that. But we will probably never see that.
Nah, definitely not. Comic Whiz, what do you got next?
Well, following Benioff and Weiss's Star Wars exit, rumors began swirling that MCU architect Kevin Feige is in line to replace Kennedy as Lucasfilm president. It appears those rumors are false, and Feige is still only slated to produce a standalone Star Wars film. Skip, are Disney missing an opportunity to salvage Star Wars, or is Feige too valuable at Marvel Studios?
I do believe it's a little bit of both. He's definitely way too valuable to just pull him from Marvel, and there's enough people over there that have been side by side with him as he's built Marvel Studios, from Iron Man 1 into what it has become now. Him producing the highest grossing film of all time with Endgame, and not only that, I think it's the fourth or third highest grossing film as well with Infinity War. So you don't want to build all that up and then you want to pull your key guy, but you do want to spread him around a little bit. And I think it's smart to not throw him head first into Star Wars, but with what is on his plate, give him one. Let's see what the results of that one are, or what that one is, and then from there, which it'll probably be successful, then I think you want to start to see, because remember, Kathleen Kennedy's contract is up in, I believe it's 2021. Mm-hmm. So you let Feige do one. It's almost like a tryout, and then you let Feige build up maybe whoever's behind him a little bit more, and then that's when you can make the seamless transition after you get the results and the data back from what his first Star Wars produced movie is. Not only that, but Marvel has amassed such a pool of talent that has come through from everybody from Glenn Close to Robert Downey Jr. to Don Cheadle, another one of the most underrated actors, one of my favorite actors. So you can, and Samuel L. Jackson, Mace Windu himself. So you can pull those people. You can pull Tom Holland, who everybody loves. You can pull those people over into this one movie, and you can really, making something spectacular. So I think that starting them off with one is the right way to go. And if that does work well, I think it would be a good idea to transition them over to Star Wars and let kind of Marvel run. But Wes, what are some of your impressions on hearing that Feige's going to start with one?
Well, it's a wasted opportunity in the fact that if Disney wants Star Wars to be important again, if they want to bring it back to the forefront of culture and be a worldwide phenomenon like it was before, it's not going to happen under Kathleen Kennedy. She's proven inept at leadership. She doesn't understand the direction the franchise needs to go to be successful, and she doesn't understand the fans at all. And that's proved to be a huge hindrance. They lost money on the first time ever on Solo, which actually wasn't that bad of a movie, just as a direct backlash to her direction for The Last Jedi. So this is a missed opportunity, but I think we just have to accept, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Star Wars is like my first cinematic love. That's all I played with as a kid. I love Star Wars. I eat, breathe, and sleep Star Wars. But I have to acknowledge, I have to be honest with myself and everyone else. Star Wars is not as important as the MCU right now. If they move Kevin Feige over to the Lucasfilm and put someone else in charge of the MCU, and that starts to lose money, you're probably not going to make it up on the Star Wars end, because it's a damaged brand, and even Kevin Feige probably isn't going to bring it back. It's probably going to take somebody brand new that we don't even know, that they bring in, and he just shakes everything up and says, I'm not part of the status quo here. We're getting back to the basics. But Kevin's far too valuable at the MCU. He's far too valuable producing those films. Those are billion a year enterprises just on movies. We're not talking licensing and merchandising. When I go to my kid's school and you know what I see? I see a Spider-Man backpack on every kid. I see a Captain America shirt or an Iron Man shirt on every kid there. So they're making money every which way but loose with the MCU right now. You don't jeopardize that by taking a chance with Star Wars when it's a damaged brand. They can't sell. They can't. People don't want to go to the movies anymore. They can't sell the toys anymore. People aren't even going to Star Wars Land in Disney. So they need someone new to be on Star Wars, but Kevin Feige isn't the right guy because the MCU is far too valuable.
Yep. Agreed.
All
right, Comic Wiz, what's up next?
Well, moving on from Star Wars, we are jumping right into the latest comic book news. Tom King's Batman run is quickly coming to an end. King recently made a few predictions to Newsarama regarding fan reaction to his final 3 issues of Batman. Batman number 83, you're going to be in tears. Batman number 84, you're going to be really angry. And Batman number 85, you're going to be in tears again, but hopefully for a different reason. Wes, do you see Tom King's Batman finale driving grown men and women to tears?
Absolutely. People are going to be shedding tears of joy, of sweet relief that Tom King is no longer on Batman, that they've been released from the stain that he has placed on the character in the franchise. Everyone's like, even the shills are tired of his run on Batman. Even they're calling him out and saying, none of this makes sense. We're tired of pretentious BS. We want to get back to Batman comics and Batman stories. So yes, there will be tears, but not for the reason Tom King thinks there's going to be tears. There's going to be no tearful goodbyes. Like, I can't believe Tom King did this to me. He's leaving Batman at the worst time. No, people are going to be like, thank God. I'm so happy he's gone. Like, the sweet relief of him exiting Batman is what everyone needs at this point. It should have happened a year ago. It's clear after Batman 50 and the wedding fiasco that he had lost touch with the fan base, and he basically just went into a creative rut, and it's affected every story arc, and it basically killed off Heroes in Crisis. He's a damaged brand. He's not a good writer right now. I think he still has promise. He can definitely turn things around, but it ain't happening with Batman. And yes, grown men and women are going to cry when he leaves. What do you think, Skip?
Oh my gosh. Oh my, yeah, tears of joy, bro. Tears of joy that this person will no longer have his clutches, his pen, his brain, or his heart anywhere near Batman. Like, it has been painful to follow this series. Painful and embarrassing. Like, where are the you know what? Forget editors. I'm throwing them out the window. Let's imagine editors never existed. How do you let writing like this leave your laptop? Or maybe he actually writes with the little inkwell and a pen. How do you let this leave with your name on it? It's embarrassing. This is terrible. And you know what? I get it. I really do get it. And I bring this up a lot. I know this is probably like a love letter to his wife, which marriage is beautiful. And I support Tom King's marriage, but I really, really, really wish he would leave all of that at home away from us and bring us what we pay for. We don't pay for your novellas, Tom King. We pay for Batman. And you haven't been giving us Batman. I don't know since when. So yeah, I look at this almost like when like an Ace Ventura, where the landlord who's looking for the animals, like, oh, there's animals in here, and he leaves, and then Ace Ventura's like, come to me, my jungle friends, and all of the animals come out and they're all like dancing and celebrating. That's what I imagine happening, like the second that I close the last page on that Tom King book. And I literally, like, before I was like, oh, this can't be done soon enough. And now I'm like, I can't wait for that issue, because I'm literally going to close the page. I'm going to tear the comic book apart. I'm going to throw it in the fire. And then I'm going to blow kisses to James Tynion and say, you can't do worse than this, my friend.
Absolutely.
That's it. So
I think when the investigators from the future go back and they start parsing through the details, everyone assumes that it all went to crap at issue 50 in the wedding fiasco, but real real fans know that what really doomed Tom King's Batman is when he got his editor fired and brought in his own editor that would just let him do whatever he wanted. And that, my friends, was the beginning of the end of Batman under Tom King.
Yeah, straight up.
Comic Whiz, what's up next?
Well, Jonathan Hickman and Nick Dragotta's dystopian Western comic East of West concludes in December with issue number 45. Hickman said, "We started East of West with a story we wanted to tell, and we had the incredible honor of having a bunch of fans make that story a reality. So enjoy it. God knows we have." Dragotta added, "East of West has been an incredible ride, and none of it would have been possible without you, the readers, and Image Comics. We did it. 45 issues? Thank you, and enjoy the end times." Skip, East of West is created by your favorite writer and favorite artist. How will you remember this amazing comic series?
As one of the best comic series, one of the best stories, period, that I've ever experienced, read, seen, like looked at. The combination of the art, combination of the dialogue and the writing, the overarching story, the undertones, the world building, and the coloring. Again, by the same colorist who was coloring Absolute Carnage for Donny Cates. Wow, how am I forgetting my boys? Frank Martin. Oh, he's incredible. And even Russ Wooten on the lettering, like everything every little thing that they did with this book is incredible. I can't stress to people enough, if you are really looking for, like, especially if you're Game of Thrones fans, you know, and you want that kind of thing, not that this is Game of Thrones, but you know, there's stakes. People die, they don't come back. You know, people die sometimes when you least expected. Some of just the twists and the turns that it takes, and the reasons behind things, and when things are revealed, and how they're revealed, and you know, I can't speak enough about this book. The reason why Wes, me, and Comic Wiz come here to do this show, this book is the essence of that. You can tell that these people, not even this is one person's story, but Nick, whose art is like it's like classic futurism, or future class. I don't know. It's like it's classic, and it's ahead at the same time, and then the story and the coloring. This is the epitome of comics, quality comics. So for me, it's hard. I can't stress it enough. And one of my favorite books in it that Nick Dragotta brought to me and signed and put my favorite character, Drew Death, on it for me. This book doesn't even have any words to the last page. And I love and that's the power of storytelling. You don't even need the words sometimes. So I can't stress to people enough how incredible this book is. Part of the reason why I'm so thankful, and it's a selfish reason, that Hawks and Pox, House of X and Powers of 10 got so popular, is I have seen people going back now and picking up this book and getting into it. People that we know, like Chase and, you know, Gateway into Comics and some other people. And then just people in the comic shops, period. Like, people are going and checking this out, and it makes me so happy. And I really, really hope, because I have it on good authority, that the show ran into some issues with getting, you know, produced over at Amazon. As Jonathan Hickman's name grows with his writing that he did in Infinity War and Endgame, what they took out, and then what he's doing with Hawks and Pox, I really, really hope. I mean, even to the point where if Kevin Feige needs to get with him and be like, hey, the Russo brothers produced Deadly Class for Rick Remender. I want to produce this show. I want to find a home for this show. I want to find a home for this on FX1, since we own Fox, that part of Fox now. I really, really would like to see that happen. So I'll be up here for the rest of Geek-Span talking about this book if Wes doesn't take over. Wes, take the mic, please.
You know, East of West is a great book, and it was my introduction to Jonathan Hickman, so it means a lot to me too. And I remember Comic Perch, before he even had his channel, you know, we were messaging one day. He's like, "You should really read East of West from Jonathan Hickman. It's my favorite comic." And I went and read it. I was like, man, this is really good. This is one of the craziest things I've ever read in my life. And it's a lot of the things that you see in Hawks and Pox, you know, he's been doing it for years, and that's why he's executed to perfection, because that is his style, and he has patented it in comic books as far as the graphic layouts and the timelines and all that kind of stuff. So it is a great comic book. And I love hearing Skip talk about East of West, because he feels about that comic the way I feel about Robert Venditti's X-O Man of War. It's my bridge to to comic reading. It's what made me love comics. It's why I'm here today and why I have a channel. It's because of stories like that touch me personally, and they mean more to me than just, oh, that was an entertaining story and I enjoyed the writing. I have a personal connection with X-O Manowar, the same way that you have a personal connection with East to West and Jonathan Hickman's writing. So I love hearing you talk about it. I love the story myself. Not quite as big a fan as you, because you're the biggest fan. But I feel what you're saying, brother. I'm picking up what you're putting down, and I agree with you. East of West is a great comic book. And if you haven't read it, you should go check it out right now because it's amazing.
Oh, and dang it, there was one thing that I was going to add to that. It had to do with I forgot now. But I will say also, I'm just kind of flexing a little bit now for everybody who likes The Wicked and the Divine by Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey. Bruh, this variant cover though, oh my gosh, this variant cover is crazy. Anyway, yeah, no, everybody, seriously, go pick up this book and just watch a master storyteller without, like, look at what he does when he has continuity that he has to respect. He has created this continuity. You guys are in for a true treat. Go pick this book up. And to one of the people, Coffee Breath, that was in the chat, Black Monday Murders, which is another fantastic Jonathan Hickman book. Dang it, too bad people didn't read it before yesterday because it's November now, but that was the Halloween book, and he did finish it. The artist Tim Coker got sick, and so there's not going to be any floppies. They decided they're just going to do a trade. I really think that Hawks and Pox took precedent and Black Monday Murders had to go on the back burner. That's why we're waiting longer. Oh, and that's what I was going to say. I have it on good authority, keep an eye out for this, that you guys on the channel may see another interview, because I interviewed Nick Dragata before earlier on for East to West on my previous comic book channel network I was a part of. We may be getting a Nick Dragata artist interview once the last issue in December comes out towards the beginning of next year. So stay locked in to Thinking Critical. There's not a lot of places you can get interviews like that. This is going to be one of those places.
Well, that sounds fantastic. It's news to me. Perfect. All right. Now that we've got the bombshell dropped on the channel, Comic Whiz, what's the next question?
Punisher writer Garth Ennis recently weighed in on the debate regarding Frank Castle's superhero status in a recent article by CBR. Essentially, he's a gunfighter rather than a superhero, Ennis told CBR. And being one step closer to the real world as a result, he's just the character you want when you're exploring the nastier side of human existence. Wes, what are your thoughts on this, considering Ennis's particular opinion and viewpoint on superheroes? Is Punisher a superhero?
I agree with Garth Ennis. He's not really a superhero. He's a vigilante, and he's one that uses deadly force. He doesn't really have the code, kind of like a Batman. So he's Batman without the restrictions. So do I think that the Punisher is a superhero? No, his actions don't actually warrant that kind of status. The way that he conducts himself when he's in action, he's not a superhero. He's an anti-hero that's a little bit too deadly to kind of warrant the superhero status. But Garth Ennis is, in my opinion, the definitive Punisher writer, and you can see why. He has his fingerprint or his thumb on the pulse of the character and understands exactly where he's coming from, and that's why he writes Punisher better than anybody. His Frank Castle's the best because he understands Frank Castle the best. What do you think about that, Skip?
Yeah, that's something that I got hip to earlier on. I never looked at him as a superhero because he has no superpowers. Two, I never really looked at him as a hero either. In my mind, he was kind of always, a anti-hero. But like, I even have Frank Castle a little bit more on like close. Like if here is the anti-hero median, whatever you want to call it. And then this is more of the good side and this is more of the bad side. I got Logan like more on the good side. Mm-hmm. I got Frank Castle definitely tipping more and more, a little bit more and more on the bad side. He's one thin thread away. I think it's literally like this is the thought that I feel like is the one thin thread that keeps Frank Castle from being an overall just straight villain most of the time. The fact that he believes with his faith, which I believe he's Catholic too. I can't remember if he's Christian or Catholic, but with his faith in the fact that his wife and his kids, his family looking down on him, if they saw him go all the way to the other side, how disappointed they would be. I think that's the only thing that keeps him from being a full-on villain, because if he would go all the way over, then he'd basically be like Taskmaster or something like that. So yeah, I think they're right on. Like, Frank Castle he's not a hero, he's not a superhero. He has done heroic acts, but it is true, he is the darkness that fights the darker darkness. That's how I view Frank Castle.
He's what Batman would be without Alfred, is the way I describe it, in my opinion.
Mic drop the mic, Wes. Where's it at? Drop it. Boom. There it is.
All right, I think we got that one settled. Comic Whiz, what's next?
Marvel Studios producer Trent Tran recently downplayed concerns brand oversaturation may dilute quality in the MCU. Skip, is it too late? Has the quality of the MCU already started dipping or not?
I think the quality of the MCU has kind of always, almost like, you see a growth chart and you see a little dip and a little incline, a little decline, a little incline. I think it's always kind of done that a little bit, but its variation is much smaller than any other continuity we've ever seen before, or just consistent string of films from a studio, I believe. So I don't think the quality's dipped all that much, and the bar is so high compared to whatever is next in that field of quality, that even if it does dip a little bit more, it's still going to be fantastic. And I'll be honest with you, for the show side of things, and maybe a little bit for the movie side of things, this is going to be blasphemous. I may get some hate for this, but bring it on. I want the smoke. I'm fine if the quality takes a little bit of a dip. If we get a little bit more of an output, I'm totally fine. And here's the thing. I have such faith in Kevin Feige because of his track record, not just because I like the cut of his jib. The man's track record speaks for itself. So I have so much faith in him that if they do that, and he does, unlike Kathleen Kennedy, if they do that and he sees that there is, some not people voicing opinions, but that they're valid, I believe he will course correct it and pull back, and then maybe we get one less movie to give it that much more time, or one less show. But as of right now, I think we're gonna if we see that at all, I think we're gonna see it here with the launch of Disney Plus, because so much bandwidth had to be put into that just to launch it properly. Because anytime you got to launch, everybody knows you got to build up, all of that energy into like a little ball, and then bam, push it forward, and then the launch goes forth. So I believe that we may see a little bit of that with the launch, but then we may see it tempered back as all of the users start to show up and all people start to subscribe. That's kind of my take on it. Wes, where are you with this?
So I don't think the quality is dipped with the MCU, but what I do think has happened is there's been some dilution as far as originality and the differences between the series. Because when the movies came out, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Captain America, Thor, they all felt very different. They were connected by the end scenes and some characters, but they didn't feel like they were all kind of produced by the exact same studio. And Marvel's MCU movies kind of have that feel now. They all have the same kind of sense of humor. They all have the, kind of the same story beats, the same story notes. Very few of the movies have standout villains anymore, because it seems like the studio doesn't prioritize villainous characters. While I don't think the quality is dipped, I do think the MCU has become formulaic. So I will say that there's a lot less originality. Ant-Man still stands out to me as a little bit different from the rest, but most of them have adopted like the sense of humor from Guardians of the Galaxy that James Gunn brought in. Once he brought in those that toddler humor, as I call it, the dick and fart jokes, it just permeated throughout the MCU, and that's all you get now. You don't get some of the jokes that you got in that original Thor, which I think is underrated. So I don't think the quality is dipped. I think they have a formula, and I know that they know how to put out movies that look great, that have the beats that people like. Maybe they don't have good soundtracks or anything like that, but they know how to put these movies out. They know how to keep the quality up. Even Captain Marvel, everyone boohooed about that. It looks good.
Oh, yeah.
And it's actually a pretty okay movie. It's not bad.
Exactly.
The actress was just not very good. She was wooden.
Yeah, she's very wooden. I fully agree.
And I don't think any actor or any director was going to get a strong performance out of that. So they made a poor choice in casting, which they actually don't do that often. So I don't think the quality's dipped. I say it's formulaic. Do you have a final word?
Yeah, and I have some things to add. I have actually some counterpoints to that. Brie Larson, who's from Sacramento, who I was very hopeful for. I do believe you can get a good performance out of her. I'll point to, dang it, I don't have a lot of things to point to, but I will point to one, and I'm going to make an interesting point about this. There is one movie in particular where she did fantastic. She didn't have a big role, but she did fantastic, and that was Scott Pilgrim versus the World as a leader of Clash of the Demon Head. But my point being is that Edgar Wright directed that movie. Edgar Wright is someone who's a fantastic director. He pulls performances out of people. Look at Baby Driver. Look at the films that he did with Simon Pegg and all that stuff. He pulls those things, those performances out of people. Interesting enough, Edgar Wright was the original director for Ant-Man. Not only that, he made the story and took it to Marvel. It wasn't even on Marvel's radar to do that stuff yet, and he took it to Marvel. But here comes the point that I'm making. The directors that Kevin Feige wants to get are not ones that have strong personalities. He wants to get ones that he can, like you said, Wes, infuse his formula into, and they'll take those beats and then they'll run with those beats, and then they check back and forth, and it's more of a synergistic, relationship, almost symbiotic relationship between the two. And Edgar Wright's not that way. Edgar Wright's films are very stylized. They're very idiosyncratic, almost like a Wes Anderson, or a Quentin Tarantino. And that personality was too strong for the grip and the hold and the vision that Kevin Feige had. So he got ousted. So if you get an actress like Brie Larson, who I don't think is a fantastic actress, but I think she is capable. And I think her ceiling, she does have she's got a good ceiling, like as far as potential. But if you do what you did, where you get two directors, because you want to have a lady director, which is fine, because Patty Jenkins is freaking phenomenal. But Patty Jenkins didn't need nobody to hold her hand. She knows how to do film. She got her Oscar for Monster by herself. So you get so that's the trade-off. So if you just want to get a lady director and then you pair her with a male director and you got two directors, and it's not the Coen brothers or it's not the Russo brothers, that they work together in such a way, and then this is an inexperienced director, she can't coach those performances out of Brie Larson. So everybody else around Brie Larson gives fantastic performances. The lady that played Maria Rambeau, I forget her name, she stole the show. But Brie Larson didn't show up to those scenes, and that's because they didn't get a strong director that can pull those performances out of her. And then it leads to what we have. So now, don't get me wrong, I would have been fine if someone else got casted as Captain Marvel. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think Brie Larson was the worst choice as far as what she could do, but as far as maybe being an ambassador for the MCU and whatnot, not too great. But that movie wasn't nearly as bad as most people said. I don't think it was good enough for $1 billion either, but.
Yeah, it
let the record speak for itself.
But now I will also point out there's a reason Kenneth Branagh and the guy from Swingers, they aren't directing those movies anymore.
Jon Favreau.
Yeah, Jon Favreau. They don't fit into the formula anymore. There's a reason the Ant-Man guy left too. So I agree with you there. Comic Wiz, what's the final question?
Well, here is the final announcement and question. Warner Media recently announced a new Green Lantern TV show is coming to the new streaming service HBO Max. And after this announcement, a lot of people are excited to see a Green Lantern series fully come into fruition after they've been promised to see Green Lanterns or a Green Lantern character in the Arrowverse, but that promise has never been fulfilled. Wes, you're a Green Lantern superfan. Which legendary ring slinger do you think should star in the series?
Well, that's a good question. If the Green Lantern movie had never been made, it should be Hal Jordan. But I don't think that I don't think they want to mess with that character after what DC Films did to it. So I think there's two choices that they could do. They could either just bring back Jon Stewart and Guy Gardner as a tandem, which would be great. Jon Stewart's like a hardened soldier. Guy Gardner is basically a meathead. Make a great tandem. That would be a great show. But the choice that I think they might actually make is bringing in Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz, the two of the newest members of the Green Lantern Corps. There's been a couple after them, like Teen Lantern and Far Sector, but those are the two that stand out. People love Jessica Cruz. She's an excellent character, and she's got a bit of a different twist to her as a Green Lantern. You know, she has anxiety issues, which would make a deeper character for more exploration. Simon Baz is also a Muslim character that has been profiled, and I believe he ended up in Guantanamo Bay at one point. So he has some baggage on him and some reasons not to maybe trust people. So I think those two are maybe the characters they will go with. If the Green Lantern movie had been made, I think Hal Jordan would be the obvious choice. But I think they'll go outside the box. What do you think, Skip?
Yeah, I was gonna say like it. Well, I guess I should lead with this. As much as I love Jon Stewart, I do not want them to do Jon Stewart with their first wave of this. Like what they did with the last Green Lantern was like it's not the full movie in itself, although there was parts that were just ridiculous, but it's just the attempt and the overall result was just so atrocious that I don't want them to touch Jon Stewart. I'm definitely down with Jessica Cruz. I'm definitely down with even Kyle Rayner, if they kind of want to have him not full on, but like kind of have him come in almost like as an authority. You know what I mean? Because he's also a newer and more integral part of, you know, recent Green Lantern lore, or semi-recent, I should say. He's been around for a little while now. But that's the route that I would go. And I really agree with your points. And as someone who like battles with anxiety and depression, I would love for them to highlight that, you know, in a very tasteful, you know, in a very tasteful way. Don't browbeat people with it, but really make it tie into the story, you know, and really make it integral to the story, you know, and then how she overcomes it and all of that. So all of those things right now would be culturally relevant. And if you do them in a way to where you're not just highlighting those things, but you're really, because like even me, I don't want someone like, oh, that's Curtis. He deals with anxiety. I don't want to be known for that. I want to be known for overcoming that and what I overcome, you know. So I really would like to see that as beats and points that they incorporate into that.
All right, yeah, I'm definitely agreeing with you, my man. You don't want it to be the character. We just want it to be part of the fabric of the character.
Bingo.
The flaws are what really elevate characters as you overcome them. So I'm 100% with you. Mm-hmm. All right, Comic Wiz, give us the bad news. What did we screw up today?
Well, not much, really. Although Skip, with your question of whether Frank Castle, the Punisher, was Christian or Catholic, he was a Catholic.
Okay.
Before he lost touch with his faith after his family got killed.
Okay. That's
why here, baby.
So thank you for cleaning me up, Comic Wiz. That's why we're happy you're here.
All right, we got Skip with a $2 super chat and a bonus question. What story should Feige do for his Star Wars movie? Now that's a great question. I don't think Feige should do the Knights of the Old Republic.
Mm-mm.
I don't really think that, but maybe like a Dark Plagueis kind of thing. You know, that's kind of a different time frame. That's a really great character. But the one I really want and I really think he should do, now I just thought about it, is Thrawn. Oh, give me a Thrawn trilogy, baby. That's what I want, right? More than anything. That would be the best thing for the cinema. They had him in Star Wars Rebels. He was a great character. They had a brilliant voice actor for him. And I think Thrawn on the big screen would knock it out of the park and would be the next Darth Vader.
Wes, Thrawn, and I know people might have fatigue, but I don't care because I'm just thinking about how the role can be justified. Thrawn, Tom Hiddleston.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He'd be a perfect Thrawn. He's got the body type for it. He's got the stately look, but the killer eyes. And then you could even bring Freddie Prinze back as Kanan, man. Bring some of those Rebels characters in. What's the name of the ship? I can't remember the name of the ship right now. The Ghost. Bring the Ghost in, man. But I think that would be amazing. Oh,
well, I'm glad that guy Skipitosh asked that question, and thanks for the super chat, Skip.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. I like those bonus questions. Got me thinking on my feet. We got some Thrawn talk, man. We need more Thrawn on the channel.
More Thrawn.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you everyone for joining us live, being in the chats. Y'all were live, heating it up today with all kinds of great points and questions. Geek-Span is here, of course, every Friday at this time with Skip and my man Comic Wiz. Skip, is there anything you want to say before we head out?
Just as always, shout out to our sponsors, Tabu Ohana. I'll turn it around so you can see the logo here in a second, but you should see it. Oh, nope, wrong side. Should see it over there. There are sponsors of ours. If you're looking for a desk chair, a gaming chair, super comfy, and if you use my code SKIPTC, then I forfeited my commission, so you get the discount that I would get in payment. And then also the money goes to orphans that they have a orphans mission and ministry that they help with. So you can feel good about the chair that you're sitting in, knowing that you're helping feed or clothe or get school supplies for orphans. So just shout out to them. And if you live in the local Sacramento area, check out Computer Booter. They're a gaming lounge out here. They sponsor me. I'll be doing a stream for them later where I'll be playing some, even though it's not October anymore, I'm gonna be playing some Resident Evil Code Veronica. So if you want to come and get freaked out with me a little bit and go down memory lane, we can have Computer Booter to thank for that. Oh, and I got one more, Wes. I got two more. Just as I gave a super chat today, if you guys would like to support the channel, super chats are awesome ways to do it. You can do it right there in the chat. We'll always make sure that we get to your question, and any super chats are always appreciated. But coffee. If you're looking to give a one-time donation or ongoing support for the channel, as we've got like plans to bring new people in and roll out more content and really build this thing out, support is needed, and we do as much as we can. Me being a single father with 2 kids, Wes having a family, Dion's got his situation, but any support, any and all, even if it's just $1, even if you just say, I'm not going to get that, that Frosty today, I'm going to support Thinking Critical. You guys have no idea how much we appreciate it. So do that and join our Discord so you can keep on the comic book related content and movie conversation with us, because we're in there and we're talking and we're sharing panels and pages, and Wes is in there. I don't know what. Sometimes I go in there, I'm like, Wes, what are you talking about? And I don't have my critical thinking cap on, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I get a little harsh on some of the comics. So if you're watching this and you like fantasy comics, today my Last God review will be up. It's awesome. It's almost a perfect comic. You're going to love that review. And tomorrow, right here on Thinking Critical, is Comics Aficionados. I got Perch on the channel. I got Paley on the channel. And we're talking the state of the comic industry for retailers. We're going to talk about your LCS and the trials and tribulations that they go through and how they're affected by Diamond, DC, Marvel, all the big guys, and how they're under the thumb of the big companies and the customers. And I think you're going to find it very enlightening. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And we'll be right here next week for OTB and Geek-Span. Salam up po, everybody. Ooh.